The software systematically takes the user through the design process and only presents the fabric and fixed building specifications needed to design a particular project. The first element in this design is the floor. The structural and insulation materials presented by the U-value calculator are determined by the decisions made in the setup section. The user chooses the structural material to be used and a standard depth is presented. If the design depth is different, it can be changed. The user chooses the insulation material to be used and the software will work out the most cost-effective depth of insulation required to make the project compliant with the performance level chosen. The calculator will also present the appropriate technical links and specific typical details, again determined in the setup section of the calculator. The design process is exactly the same for the wall, so let's move on to the roof design, which again is the same process as the floor and wall, so let's click on next. The designer should choose the higher U value for the windows and let the software determine if it is sufficient. The user needs to choose the frame type which is used in the SAP calculation. The design of the door is exactly the same as the windows, so we'll click on next. Go to thermal bridge. The thermal bridge has been calculated by our integrated Y value calculator. The PSI values for the calculation are determined in the setup section of the calculator and the lengths of the typical details are collected in the dimension input section. Air permeability. The user chooses a high air permeability and let the software determine if it is sufficient. The number of gas, fires and flues are needed in the SAP calculation. The software presents good ventilation options most suited to the performance level and type of dwelling being designed. The number of fans, vents and wet rooms is needed by the SAP. The designer should always choose 100% energy efficient lightings and the number of internal and external lights is needed by SAP. The designer needs to choose the type of boiler to use. The software will present boiler options most suited to the performance level and type of building being designed. Heating controls. The type of controls to be used is determined by a number of factors. If in doubt, click on the information button and this will help with the decision. The hot water storage. The designer needs to choose the number of occupants and if solar has been used. The software will work out the size of tank if required and the depth of insulation needed to achieve the performance required. The design decisions have been collated by the design compliance software and the integrated SAP 2012 will determine if the decisions made are compliant with the performance level required.